Good day. Good day to everyone, and welcome to Soul Boost, where we try to live a life of what's called pnimiut. Live a life where we're attached to values which are at the core of who we are, and we try to attach ourselves to what's essential and let all the bluff and all the fake go away so we can really enjoy and completely immerse ourselves in everything that we do. We can be present, we can live a life of meaning where every day and every moment is a moment of joy, is a moment of a learning experience. So today something very out of the ordinary happened. Here I have a member of the shul that tells me, Rabbi, I'd like to do something for the shul, and I'd like to contribute my services. And you come to me, and I'm wondering, what does this guy do? And you tell me I do videography. I said, really? Oh boy, we're going to work together. This is the time, when you're going in a certain direction, Hashem puts the right people and right elements together. When the student is ready, the teacher is there. And something even more uncanny happened right now. We're speaking, and since I love singing and I love sounds and everything, so I'm playing with my voice, and I speak to you about what you do, what you told me you do, which was film music videos. And we speak about vibrations and music, and I just found it fascinating. So I thought that this would be the type of information that we all need to know. When you want to live an immersed life, you want to really connect with every part of your fiber, every part of your being, to every moment of your life and live it fully. You need to be able to take any type of abstraction and any type of pollution, whether it's toxic because it's emotionally toxic, it's intellectually toxic, it's spiritually toxic. So maybe you can give us a little of your background in videography and what you've done. And
Okay. Brief background. I started in music production after I uttered some words, and those words had an adverse effect on my reality. And that's when I realized how powerful the sound of my mouth is. After that, I got more into video production, and it just kept progressing and progressing. I worked with a lot of music artists, video production, as well as audio production, and I had the unfortunate experience, unfortunate, I look at it now, to work with a lot of rappers and hip hop and whatnot. And you asked me a question like what I used to work with, and I told you about the rap videos and hip hop videos that I produced, and I mentioned that I stopped. The reason I stopped is when I started getting deep into the knowledge of vibrations and sound, and how sound has an impact and effect on reality, and your personal reality and other people's reality that's surrounding you, because everything you release is a never-ending vibration. It just goes through the ether and it floats. So the physics behind it, the science behind it, as well as the metaphysical things that go behind it, it all coincided. So I stopped producing those sounds.
but before we get there, I I forgot to introduce you. Maybe you want to share your name.
Yeah, my name is Gennady, and that's my Russian name, and Gershon, or Gershel, how my great grandmother used to call me, is my Hebrew name.
Where are you from? You're from.
I'm from now what it's called Ukraine, Beled Tzedek, Ukraine. I left during the Soviet era, right before the breakup in 1988. And we come from there, traveled through Eastern Europe, Italy, New York, and I ended up here eventually and whatnot.
Amazing. So you were talking about vibration and sound, but for you it might be something obvious what you're saying. Maybe you explain to us exactly what's vibration, what's sound, how does it affect a person, what happens. I mean, I know there's a lot of studies that have been done about some professors that have spoken for certain words of kindness, for example, in front of water. And then they looked at the crystals of water, and these crystals were organized almost like the Star of David. Beautiful to see. It's online, you can see it. And when they spoke words of negativity and curse words and all this foul language, it was just a complete chaos. So it does affect, but maybe you can develop on what your study was and what brought you to this. What did you feel? Discomfort? What happened exactly?
So when I started really connected to Hashem and God, these were my first experiences. Every time I put on the music that I produced or work with artists, I felt really uncomfortable. And I wanted to understand, I was already studying sounds and how it influences, but it made me feel uncomfortable. And it brought things into my environment that I did not want in my environment. So I started getting deeper and started researching exactly what these effects, and like you just mentioned, those studies of how water retains. So water has memory, and if you freeze it while you put a vibration, let's say it's sound or music into it, it crystallizes. And when you observe those crystals under a microscope, you can see the actual crystallization, such as a snowflake. It has those patterns and whatnot. When you emit certain vibrations into it that are of negative tone, or you might not consider this negative, but like for example, when you listen to the modern day hip hop music or the modern day rap music that they produce, let's even take away the words. That's the obviously negative stuff that they produce. But let's take away the words. But you listen just to the beats that are produced in this music. Those beats are designed, specifically manufactured to produce a discourse within your body and within your body, your psyche, your mental, your whole environment. The reason I say that is I'll give you a simpler example. When you wanted people to do something before, let's say war, like as I mentioned before, what do they play when they need the front line to march? Nobody wants to go die in the front line, but if you play those specific drum sounds, it moves the person a certain way. We're mostly water, our bodies, and in the same way that water accepts that information.
So you're saying that basically the vibration gives a certain rhythm to the way the body works. Because I mean, we know in Kabbalah and Chassidut, I explain it in my in my seminars when I do breath work. There's a concept of ratzo vashov. Ratzo vashov means there is a elevation, right? And then there's the integration of this elevation. Just like when you breathe out, right? And then you breathe in. You breathe in and you breathe out. There's a movement of going in to a certain dimension and afterwards absorbing that dimension. The same thing with the heart, right? The pumping of the heart. So you're saying that basically external sound has vibrations that can actually permeate and penetrate your being and affect the way your body is going to function and as a result think. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely, because if you look at it, there's military weapons that are designed for sound. You put a specific vibration, specific sound out, you will cringe, your eardrums will pop, your whole body will go into convulsions and whatnot, depending on the vibration that's emitted from the speakers. So what reality is doing right now, and especially through music and social media and everything of that nature, is they're permeating sounds that are making the populace and the demographic vibrate a certain way to what they want you to vibrate, and they're emitting sounds and they're promoting sounds that are of negative value. I don't know if you follow social media. Fortunately, some of the stuff that I have to follow due to my work. Most of the sounds that are emitted right now through music and other things right now are of negative value, and they're done so on purpose. And the other thing with that is, let alone that, there's a lot of sound in general. So there's a bombardment of information. Your body is a element, it's a receiver. So it receives information through mouth, through nose, through hearing, through sight, and then through all these senses. Sound being one of them, one of the major ones, and it penetrates you, let alone through your ears. It penetrates you through your skin as well. Why? Because you're mostly water. Water gets programmed by sound as well. So the people that produce vibrations and sounds, they understand this. The people that push these sounds out, they're doing this for a specific reason, and there are, how do I say, motives for this. And being me personally, I stopped listening to a lot of music. There's only certain things that I would ever put on just because of the tones and the vibrations that are emitted from this stuff.
So basically, this is a. I'm sorry. This sounds to be like very vicious. It sounds to be very vicious that I'm. Let's say I want to control the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to control a certain group of people,
Mm-hmm.
young people, for
Mm-hmm.
example, people who are influential, whether it's on the colleges, the college ground, or the university. And I basically started music. So it's besides the words, which it's horrendous what they speak over there, right? The
Exactly.
foul language and the ideas and the images, which just
It's horrible.
it's horrible. Let's not even talk about the words. You're saying that the sound itself penetrates and actually affects the way we think.
Yeah,
That's very disturbing.
it's just like a war sound. Like when you like I mentioned earlier, if you want your army to move forward and march forward to their death, what do? You play the drum sounds, specifically designed drum patterns that'll make your front line march forward. Nothing's changed, but they're doing the same. They're using the same tactics in a different fashion with different sounds to our youth right now. They're making them march to an evil and specific vibration of their doing.
You know, it's the reason I'm so fascinated by what you have to say is because I made my own little research on sound. One of the things that I've discovered, I've met people that use sound to cure cancer.
They do. I've researched this as well, and I believe the Chinese government actually did some studies on this. And chanting, and also, let's say you have a group of men or women that have a specific vibration within them. That it can't just be random people. These people have to be connected to the source, so they have to have these powers and true honest intention that goes into it. And so the research that I've studied and looked at, they have these individuals and they chant in a certain specific way using sound and whatnot, and they do take out the cancer, and like literally within hours, it actually dissipates and leaves the infected person. I've not done my own research
No,
on this, so I don't,
me,
so I can't
me
validate
neither.
it.
Obviously, we can't say that. But I was talking about more how they just like you use a laser, they're able to, with sound therapy to. I think it's even a TED talk, if I'm not mistaken, where the sound is able to identify the cancerous cells and basically slowly but surely disintegrate them, or separate them from their whatever hold, without destroying the good cells, which is the big disadvantage of chemotherapy,
Yeah, totally.
and so on. And so
It sounds plausible though.
yeah, no, 100%. But what's really very interesting is because in the Chabad tradition, we have nigunim, we have beautiful nigunim, beautiful songs and melodies. I'm sorry, that have been given over from great tzaddikim, from the Baal Shem Tov to the Maggid of Mezrich, the Alter Rebbe, all the way to our Rebbe. And these nigunim have a tremendous power. I remember some 15, 20 years ago, I had a lady complaining that she had anxiety at night and she had bad dreams and she could not sleep well. So I told her, I would like you to listen to the nigunim of Yair Kalev. At the time, Yair Kalev came out with beautiful nigunim. And within days, her whole state of mind was calm. It's something very special. I'm going to give you an example. These melodies take you, in a certain level. First of all, they calm you down. They take you out of your physical envelope and your animalistic envelope, And it's very interesting what you said about the drums, because just yesterday I was talking with Ruth Wallen, which is a psychologist and somebody that teaches breath, does her own music with her. When I say her own music, she doesn't sing, but she composes her own music with rhythms which are kosher. So I was talking with her and my one of my students, and we're talking about creating certain musics which are going to permit people to breathe in. So believe it or not, there are instruments that even according to Torah we should not be listening to.
I believe it.
But you know why? Because they've been used for avodah zarah, for idol worship, and they are made for idol worship, right? Even at the time of the Tower of Babylonia, the Tower of Babel, it talks about kle minim ve'ugav, different types of instruments which were used for the service of idol worship. So it intunes a person automatically when we attach ourselves to music, the Rebbe said, it intunes a person to connect to the person that did this music, and to what the kavanah, the intention is. You know, in the temple, we're in the 3 weeks and we're commemorating the destruction of the first and second temple. In the temple, it says, it says, you will make for me an abode and I will dwell in it. And people gave gold, silver, and copper in order to build the tabernacle, the Mishkan. The Torah teaches us. And in Parashat Vayakel Pekudei talks about a certain individual which was very, very wise, even though he was very young. He was at the age of Bar Mitzvah. And he was able, HaKadosh Baruch Hu filled him up with wisdom, with understanding, velachshov mahashavot. And he was able to think thoughts. What does it mean to think thoughts? So our sages explained that he was able to look at matter and be able to see with what thought it was given. So even imagine this is thought and giving. This is something physical. What happened when it's voice? Voice is really something which is quintessential. It's actually, the Rabbi explains in one of his discourses that the Shema Yisrael that we read is the song of the souls, right? The song of the souls. Shema Yisrael means literally to regroup all of the animal soul and to elevate it, right? The angels, they sing to Hashem, right? Because the song is something that takes you out of your animalistic state. So yesterday we were talking about the drums. So we need, for the exercises that I teach in the breathing, I want to do things in the most kosher way, because today there's so many different things and people are using things which are very close to idol worship without even knowing what they're doing. Right? They're using certain music, certain instruments, and they, and since the experience of breathing, especially breathing deeply, right, when it's associated to a sound which is not kosher, it starts touching and it makes its imprint in the person in a way that could affect them in a very, very negative way. And they will not even know why they have these thoughts coming through their mind.
Exactly.
So the purpose of creating our own drum music, right, was because the drum is something which is more, gets you in your body, and the breathing has to be done in the body. So there are different steps. For example, in the seminar, seminars where we have, first of all, that type of music to get you into the body, to get you into the rhythm of the body, of the breathing, in order for you to take out all these toxins and the negativity which is inside your physical body. And afterwards, there's going to be a music like the one I chanted before, which is going to take you more now out of your body, meaning out of your limitations, to be able to strive higher. So sound does have such an effect. It's absolutely incredible. That it penetrates. Sounds penetrates.
You know what I've noticed, and I might not be 100% correct on this, but what I've noticed in my experience is that, like what you just said, the drums, they get you into your body. But you know what I feel that gets me out of my body? Strings and voice. when I hear strings, the violin, the other strings, it touches something inside of me that elevates like my being and my soul somehow in a certain way where I feel more emotion, I feel more connection, and it kind of elevates me out of my body, as opposed to the drums, which, like you said, it's more body oriented. Like it makes you get back in tune with your body, as opposed to coming out.
So as you were speaking before, I was thinking, you said that the army marches in a certain way to
A rhythm.
certain rhythm. I was thinking to myself about Hasidic dancing. You know, at a wedding, if you've ever seen a really Orthodox Hasidic wedding where there's only Hasidic music, so there's something beautiful that happens because the dance and the singing and the dance together, they take the body and take it to another reality. The body is there to serve the soul, to serve a higher purpose, you know? So as we said before, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, in a mimer, in a Hasidic discourse, explains a Mishnah in the Talmudic teaching, in the Talmud of Shabbat. Over there, it talks about taking the animal out from a private domain to a public domain when it's wearing a ring around its nose or a collar around its neck. Is this permissible or not? Is this part of its being or not? Because you're not allowed to carry from a private domain to a public domain. So the word for that ring is called sheir, shin yud resh. So it asks a question, Bameh behema yotzet, how is the animal allowed to get out? Is it allowed to get out? It says, yotzim besher v'nimshachim besher. It can go out with this ring, this collar, and it can continue with it. Says Chasidut Chabad, the word sher could be read shir, a song, a melody. How do you get out of your animalistic self? With a song. And the Frierdiker Rebbe explains in the Ma'amar over there that the song is just like that ring, because you go into a chorus and then you go into it again. Then something else happens and then you go into, but each time you make that cycle, you're going deeper and deeper and deeper. And at that moment, you're opening yourself. The Rebbe Rashab explains that sometimes we have thoughts in our minds. See, we have thoughts, we meditate, we contemplate on certain things, and we want our heart to be affected. Absolutely. But the world of thought and the world of the heart are two separate worlds, especially that the bridge is a tight and narrow bridge between the head, right? Gesher tsar me'od, right? It's a very tight and narrow bridge. So sometimes the idea and the grandeur, the greatness that's in the mind, right? Whether it's thinking about the greatness of God, whether it's thinking about the greatness of your soul or your dreams and aspirations, and by the time they get to the heart, it's like minimized, it's been completely, it's tight. Comes the Rebbe Rashab and says something extraordinary. He says, of course, the purpose is with intensity, to meditate and contemplate on a subject in all the details possible till you have such a clarity that it's going to naturally be felt in the heart. The bridge is going to be shorter and the mind and the heart will connect. But there's a way to bypass this through a song, through a nigun. The song has the possibility to open wide that bridge and connect the heart and the soul.
I agree.
Ay la da, ay la da, ay la da, ay la da 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 da. And when you sing, right? When you sing, Chassidut explained that it's not about trying to impress the outside. Is you surrendering to the song, to the sound, in a way that it penetrates inside. And when you are inside yourself, then the more you are inside, even in the high notes, the more you are inside yourself, the more you are immersed in the moment, the more power it has, and the more impact it has. It's, just an expression of the soul. So this is like the connection between the soul and the body. It's like beautiful. There's my good friend, actually one of my best friend in Ashdod. He created a series of discs you can check out online called Ga'aguim. Ga'aguim is a longing, because that's what a song is. It's a longing of the soul to get out of its limitations. And he reproduced many Hasidic Chabad nigunim, which are deep in meaning and deep in holiness and so on, and really connect you to the infinite. And he reproduced it in a modern way, but in a modern way, which means with quality instruments and a super high definition, high quality and sound. And it really is an experience. I really advise everybody to go online and just, his name is Rabbi, it's Mendel Amar. Incredible. We're not related, but
I was just gonna say.
No, we're not related. We're related in the soul. Yeah. But this is very interesting. So basically, when we talk about listening to non-Jewish music or music which is not connected to something holy, we have to be very careful.
Very. I agree. I cut. We don't, like, even in my family. Coming from a music producing background, we cut most music out. Sometimes we do listen. Like, I like the '80s music, because in the '80s it still had like love and affection and positive sounds and vibrations. After the '90s, it completely switched over to a different vibration. But I limit the sound of music unless it has something to do with the positive sounds. Period. Nothing negative whatsoever, because it influences us to such an extent that we don't notice that it does, but we just become a product of that environment. And it needs to be taught, and it's not taught in schools. It's not taught to our youth. It's just put on TV. It's put on the tube or the radio or the Instagram or whatnot, and it's having a very detrimental effect. If you haven't noticed, I mean, it's hard not to notice what's happening with our youth right now. It's insanity, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. And
so that's another tool to really transform oneself, and just change the tune of your music. Mm-hmm. I tune somewhere else. Mm-hmm. Stop, attaching yourself to certain things, and you will feel a liberation. There's a lot of people today. I want to tell you, I'm not the only one saying it. I'm not the only rabbi saying it. There are life coaches and psychologists and psychiatrists and so on and so forth. We see such a rise in the amount of people, even very, very young children, sometimes even babies, which suffer of anxiety.
Yeah.
I think it has to do with what you're saying. I mean, if people are in front of their screens all day, and they're putting kids already in front of the screens, and there are these different sounds.
It causes that. And so the sound can come from, here's the other thing that a lot of people and a lot of parents tend to not notice this. They will put their children, and they would put their YouTube channel, which we allow our son to watch YouTube. Here's the problem with that. A lot of the kids shows, even though they're kids shows, are produced with certain sounds in them as well. A lot of parents might not notice this because they see the bright colors and the kids oriented and YouTube approved. But there are messages and subliminal sounds that are implemented in this, which are not helpful to the kids. That's why when you see a child being taken away from the YouTube, they have hysteria, they have anxiety, like you mentioned, and all these kind of things. So all this has a very, very big effect on children and the youth, and that's how it's being permeated through media and through that's why I got into media and video production to begin with. I strayed a little bit, and I'm getting back to my line, so not to work with certain things, but the main goal is to actually produce proper media where it doesn't hurt the society or the environment, but it actually brings some kind of beneficial, and it doesn't disconnect us from God, because that's the objective of a lot of media nowadays. They disconnect you from God. They and subliminally teach you certain things that you need to disconnect. You need to be, how do you say, you're unique, but you're this person, and you forget that you're part of everything and part of the environment. So they do this subliminally.
I think it's not only that, people are disconnected from themselves.
That is true too.
Yeah, they're disconnected from themselves. I know that somebody, a lady, once had a tremendous problems with her skin. She had rashes over her body. She went to many doctors, and she wrote to the Rebbe about it, or she asked the Rebbe in person, and the Rebbe said you should listen to Jewish music and nigunim. So I think she asked, only Hasidic nigunim? Says no, Jewish music, you know. But I want to tell you, change that, you change the mind. There's a lot of rebellion that happens in the house between teenagers and their parents. Has to do with the music and what's being put in there. I know for a fact, my friend Rabbi Amar, Mendel Amar from Ashdod, he got a call from somebody that his daughter was straying off the path of Hasidic upbringing and Orthodox upbringing, and she was starting to become very rebellious and everything. They introduced in the house the sound waves of his music, and within a few days there was already a difference. And they didn't even do it intentionally, but she just reconnected, because the natural intention, the natural instinct of the soul is to cleave on to holiness. So imagine the disturbance of the soul. We really, when we talk about being immersed, being somebody that's immersed in time, immersed in the depth of himself, right? We're talking about creating something that's in sync between the sound of the body and the sound of the soul, right? Being in perfect sync. Gershon, I want to thank you, because this is really so enlightening. And I think your message, which just came like this for the first time, I've never done my own podcast, right? So this is an inspiration, and please God, we should be able to create the right sounds. You know, God created the world with words. And it says that the sound of God at the moment of Matan Torah, the moment of the giving of the Torah, says Kol Gadol Velo Yasaf. It was a voice that did not stop. And one of the commentaries explained that there was no echo at the moment that God gave the Torah. Why was there no echo? Because echo can only happen when there is something blocking and there's a reverberation of the sound. But what can block God's voice? So therefore, when we have the sound of Torah, we have the sound of holy sounds, right? The sound of Kedusha. And obviously, you connect that to images and everything else. It permeates us, and it changes us, and it elevates us to what our true goal is in the world. So maybe we'll finish today with a song. Keliata veodeka Elokai aromemeka Keliata veodeka Elokai aromemeka. Keliata, you are my God. Veodeka, and I want to thank you and praise you. Elokai, my source of life. Varomemeka, and I want to elevate you. Keliata veodeka Elokai אתה ועודך אלוקי הרוממך. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you to
didn't
all of you
expect
for joining us. If you want to find out more, you have some questions, you can directly send me a WhatsApp, 786-325-2329. That's 786-325-2329. And we can keep you informed about the upcoming seminars, breathing seminars, sound seminars, sound baths, and meditation, and so on and so forth, to live a life in the present, an immersed life. God bless you. Have a great day.